Hi, my name is Patrick, and this is Tackalicious and Crackalicious, a small little channel that deal with all kind of sort of games, to be honest. And in this particular video, I'm going to talk about some of the games that I have had a pleasure of playing during this next fest on Steam, and that I would recommend to play, that you guys try out at least, or wishlist yourself. Now, these are just a bunch of choices so far that have kind of piqued my interest. And it certainly wasn't, in all cases, my style of games. But I found myself at least trying out some stuff that I'm not really used to playing as of late. Now, to just set the stage, I have been playing games since the 80s. On my VIC 64, first game that I thought was just absolutely brilliant and awesome, Pirates. Sid Meier's Pirates. And I will say that game blew my mind. I got sick that week. Sick. Calling in sick. And I spent so many days playing that game. It just tickled my fancy. It was my jam. It's hard to explain what the VIC 64 version of Pirates was. It certainly wasn't high-end graphics or anything like that. There is a remake that you can buy on Steam, and I would suggest that if you haven't played Pirates, you should. It is the forefather of all open world, it's an emotional ride. You conquer cities, you build up pirate fleets, you lose fortunes, and you gain love. It had everything. For such a small little game on a small little console computer kind of device, yeah, it was awesome. So, obviously, I have played all kind of sort of games, from the first Doom, Wolfenstein, all the way to the latest first-person shooters, third-person perspective, yada yada, etc., etc. But with time, you kind of get settled into sort of the genre that you like to play most of the time. That's just the way it is. At some time, I was playing online all the time against others, such as in World of Tanks, War Thunder, etc. And then I realized that was not fun. A lot of toxic players. It was just going around in a circle. You were like a hamster in a hamster wheel. And then I discovered all these open world crafting, survival games of all kind of stripes. Now, some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are bland, some of them are awesome. I have showcased a couple of them here, and the next fest allowed me to at least throw myself outside my comfort zone of what I normally do and check out different things. And, I got my mind blown a little bit. Just a titsy bitsy little bitty, a tiny bikini. But, so without further ado, let's talk about some of them. Now, these are my tickled fancies. Might not be yours, but give it a chance. I mean, after all, a demo is free, right? It only takes time. And if you can afford the time, I think you should do it. For sure. So let's start with Solasta II. Solasta II builds on Solasta. It's a game that I played for a bit. I stopped playing it. It is, I would say, poor man's Baldur's Gate 3. I think that's an insult. It is, Solasta 2 feels like Baldur's Gate, but without the massive amount of resources and time put into it. And that's not a bad thing. It has excellent characters. The ones that I played, the banter, it all reminded me of Baldur's Gate, right? Baldur's Gate 3. It had that kind of interaction that I enjoyed. I'm not a super fan of Dungeons and Dragons as far as implemented in games. The whole system is a little bit too restrictive for me. I don't necessarily enjoy being a low level and have like 2 spells that I can use, and then there's corny camping systems that exist. But again, some people love that stuff. I'm not necessarily a fan of it, but it worked. and I enjoyed playing the game too. And especially at character development, and the voice acting was top notch. No question about that. Not too hammy. It was tiny little pieces that were a little bit hammy, but just in the way that it didn't get in the way of the suspense or anything like that. So I enjoyed it. And it's a free demo, so you should try it out at least if that's kind of sort of the jam that you like, which is the real-time movement, turn-based kind of fighting. So, not bad at all. Next on my list is Chains of Freedom. Now, this is sort of like a Jagged Alliance type game. Very hammy, very campy. I must say that the voice acting was like a little bit over the top. I'm not sure if that was on purpose or if it was meant to be that way. But it really reminded me of if you have played Jagged Alliance 3, which is an excellent game. Here you are, a bunch of fighters for this eastern country. After some asteroid fell, I think, it turned everybody into zombie-like creatures or something like that. And you are on a mission to take care of a terrorist and then get shut down. And that's pretty much from there. I enjoyed it. I must say that it was certainly not the worst game that I have ever played. It uses XCOM-like features, so that's real-time movement, turn-based fighting, with the cover system similar and whatnot. And it also had a built-in crafting system and things of that nature. So what I really liked about it was the fact that you had a way of upgrading your guys on the fly. There's these crystals that you find. Some of them have negatives to it, some of them have positives to it. And it just added a flavor to the game that allowed me to develop my own tactics. I wasn't forced to take the characters as is. I could actually make them a little bit different. And I enjoy that. That is a system that kind of tickles all the little things in my brain that I like about game. It is a little bit campy. A very ham-fisted kind of type conversations. But it's okay. Sometimes that's just cool too. You don't have to be the best like Baldur's Gate 3 kind of type production value. Sometimes the hammy stuff is fun too. So moving along, the next one is Tides of Tethys. What I liked about Tides of Tethys was the feel of it. You're apparently some kind of night house in the future. All the resources that are left to find is pretty much at the bottom of the sea. So you're going there to hunt for artifacts and to find resources that you can then bring home, upgrade, and then mount another expedition with new features. I had so much fun. The attrition loss on certain equipment was a little bit aggressive, but I got a comment from the developer that pretty much said that they were going to look into it, and also maybe adding a house that had less attrition loss. And plus, then also in the settings, you had a way of kind of adjust the way you want to play it. And I enjoy that. I like that. If you want to have drag your knees across broken glass kind of type games, or if you want to make it more like a casual experience, I enjoy that kind of settings. And the atmosphere and the sound was just excellent. You had this night-looking, cool, heavy diving suits on, and you came across these creatures, tentacles swapping at you, and this pufferfish attacked. It was just fun. I enjoyed the atmosphere. It reminded me of exactly what you could expect when you're there at the bottom of the sea in this vast, unknown region. So I'm looking forward to playing that. That's going to be a fun game. And then we have Lost Skies. So apparently I found out by watching another video that the very same studio that released Aloft in early access and now Lost Skies apparently split, and they made these two games. So I commented in the video that I made that it was very much like Aloft with a slight different twist. And apparently that's kind of sort of what they were working on, and had creative differences, I guess. Lost Skies is interesting. I liked it because it reminded me of a loft. And I will say this right now, so listen carefully. This might actually be a better version of it. I'm not sure. So one of the things that I've noticed with a loft when I've been playing it, and the last one I kind of gave up. I recorded a piece. I'm going to continue recording it, obviously, since I want to finish the journey. But the emptiness of all these random islands compared to the manufactured, the manual manufactured islands, like the one that has the crest, right? Um, and I will say this: Lost Skies felt more like it was made to be a certain way, where you explore the certain points that want you to find. And that to me can be a curse, right? Because when you replay the game, it's going to be pretty much the same steps, right? So some randomness is always good, but too much randomness just adds a lot of empty space, kind of like No Man's Sky was before they started tightening it up with free DLCs. It's when you're in the landscape where first everything looks so interesting to explore, and then you realize how empty and everything is to explore. That's kind of a drag on your soul. With Lost Guys, at least from what I explored, seems to be that they have thought about that and added the pieces that kind of punch you forward. That the interest is pretty much their own creative mind. I hope that's going to remain the case, because exploring a world that is too random often becomes too bland. That's just the way it is. Uh, no offense to anyone on the Aloft team. It's a good game, and it's still in early access. That can still be fixed. There's still time to tighten that up and make it more interesting. But Lost Sky felt more like I was exploring something fresh and new. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it just comes to the point where it feels the same as Aloft. We'll see. But I'm definitely interested in playing that game again. Now, the next game is probably going to throw you for a little loop, because it's not a game in a traditional sense. This is Camper Van. I liked it. Okay, so it's not really meant for a dude. I realized that when I was starting to put tampons on one of the shelves, and that's fine. Again, set that aside. I liked the chill factor of it. And I guess that's the extent of the game, really. You go to these different places, different environments, and you decorate out the outside and the inside, to rearrange with different things. And that's fine. There are games like that, like a packing simulator and whatnot, where you kind of sort of do similar things, in that you just pack things away like a puzzle piece, like Tetris for your drawer, right? And I enjoy that feeling of just going in and finding the nooks and crannies of putting things in. It was chill. And then being able to take a snap a picture of the finished product. If that's the extent of the game, yeah, that's a little bit on, for my purpose, for how I like playing games, not enough. I wish there was a part where you could just drive around with it too. Just a simple simulator, driving around, stopping locations, enjoying things, picking up a postcard to send to a friend, type it out, stuff like that, right? But it's a small dev team. That's probably not their creative vision for it, and that's fine. This is a game you can enjoy when you have a little bit of time and you just want to untap your mind from a long day of doing boring, dreadful things, right? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being first pimping out your. Oh, sorry. Can I use that word? I am gonna use it because they were using it on MTV, so that must be cool. So how you were pimping out your van. Again, it's probably some connotation that can get you canceled, but I was born in the 70s and 80s. I certainly heard a lot more things that you can be canceled over. Uh, but in this game, after you have decorated the inside of your van with the kind of things and nooks and crannies that you have filled out. So when you're done decorating your van, you then start putting things away. I enjoy that. And then you move around, and then you look outside, you can set the sun going down, and it was enjoyable. Um, I'm definitely interested in just looking into that game one or two more times, just when I have some spare time for myself. Okay, Gothic Remake. Now, I never played the original Gothic, shame on me, even though I'm certainly old enough to have as fond memories of something like that, but I never did. For one reason or another. I played a lot of other games. I can always excuse myself for that. It, I enjoyed playing it in the sense that there was a little bit of a hammy dialogue, but with a blank expression on everybody's faces. Uh, I hope they tighten up the combat system, both shooting with a bow and both hitting with something. Oh, jankiness. But it was something charming and enjoyable. The creatures that you ran into was interesting. So there's an ember there that I'm interested in at least following, and we'll see what happens with the actual game. I'm sure this is more nostalgia for the ones that played the original, in how it kind of brings back memories of that time. So maybe I'm just looking at it as an outsider and never played the original, and therefore don't really get all of it. But it felt nice enough for me to be interested in continue the trip down the Gothic memory lane for others, I guess, if that's even a word. Next one is Machine Mind. I enjoyed this so much I tried it 4 times. I think the video is for my second attempt or third attempt. I'm not sure. It it reminds me of They Are Billion. Well, not in the sense that you're not playing against a zombie raid wave or anything like that, but it like the time crunch that you're in order to get your base up and running, and the more you get your base up and running, the worse the raiders get. The day and night cycle was a little bit too aggressive to me because there's some jankiness with how you have to move your your truck, into contact with whatever you need to build up or fix. And all of that got to be a little bit too much. There are certainly some things and improvements that can be made to how this is done, like the base building. That was just a little bit too much. I spent so much time trying to get in contact with the right thing to rebuild that by the cycle came back again. Yeah, unfortunately, that was another raid and another night. So, right off the bat, if you're just dragging your feet, you're probably going to have to restart. And that's kind of sort of what happened to me. And that's fine. Sometimes just going to have to live with that time crunch and deal with it and learn what to do next. But I did have fun building up not only my base, but my truck. Being able to put things and put a crane on and do things of that nature. And then later on, control your other bots to do their job, like give them simple commands to follow up on, and how to run away from raiders before it gets too bad for them, and then upgrade them as well. So all of that was enjoyable. I actually, in one of the episodes that I did not record, I ended up even fighting a raiders village and taking some of their stuff so I can upgrade my shield. It was fun. I definitely gonna play that game again, for sure. And then we have Nordhold. That's a game that I normally don't play. Sure, I have played tower defense games before, but not quite like this one. What I enjoyed about these are the two kind of features part of it. First of all, you will fail, and second of all, you will then come back stronger with a better idea on how to do things. And what I liked about it was that you are upgrading your city to add the kind of features you need to defeat the next wave, such as building out resources and also economy and how to support more people in your city. all of those things that you need in order to be successful in the next wave. And then as you start exploring the outside and putting up towers there, that's when the fun starts. So there are certain stages, turns that where you get banners that will improve kind of sort of certain towers. You will get heroes that have certain abilities that you can use during the assault. And then it's just that hope and pray factor of did you build up the right features. So that is a game that I will play, which I haven't played tower defense games in a long while. I played some demos, but not like a full game. But I really, there was something about it that just want me to do another one. So I was looking at the time and it was like, oh, this is like 45 minutes already. It's too long of a video, but I just want to do another one. And that's always a good feeling when you feel like you just screw time and let's do it again and see if I can do this better. The next game on my list is Tales of Seikyu. And I'm probably not saying it the right way. I'm sorry about that. If there anyone out there that knows how to say fox in Japanese, certainly I can always see what Google Translate says. But, it's better to be ignorant about things than always know everything. Well, that's a dumb statement, but I'm gonna hang on to that one. So Tales of Seikyu is billed as a farm sim and dating sim. I did not read it until after I had played it, and it didn't feel like it. I didn't even get to the farm part. I could see the embers of the dating stuff in there because you were talking to people and depending on, just having conversation, they gave you hearts. But I thought that could also be like a system of how warm they are towards you in a moral sense, right? And then you unlock shrines. You go and explore. You pick up stuff. It has crafting in it, and has fighting in it. So if that is a farming sim, well, you could certainly explore to your heart content. It seems to be a semi open world with crafting capabilities and some abilities to unlock, and certainly items and things to create that makes you better at fighting. Plus, you can pick up stuff too. Whatever you beat up, I picked up a couple of clubs and leaves and whatnot. So I had fun. It is something I will definitely look into. It says farming sim and dating sim. Not exactly my jam necessarily, but the other embers of whatever was out there was kind of interesting too. Art style wise, not exactly the kind of game that I play, but why not? I had fun, and that's really the most important. If you don't have fun, then what's the point, right? Next on my list is Grit and Valor. Oh boy, did I enjoy this one. So it's a mech type game where you have a similar kind of tree like Darkest Dungeon, right? Where you move down the encounters, it splits up and path at some point, and you choose which one. One can be a higher challenge with better rewards, and one can be like a normal challenge. And the normal channels can be challenging. When I discovered that you could pause and give orders, blew my mind. That really helped me. Before that, I was kind of struggling, like, oh my god, I need to move this and that. I enjoyed it. You have these random things that you pick up that powers up to your different mechs that you have to choose from. And of course, you go back to the base, build that out, research new things, and then also get better items on your mechs itself. And then you go out fighting. You have the headquarter, you have special abilities that run out of time. You can find, of course, more of those special abilities as a random option. And there is some kind of higher ground thing that is kind of janky, and you have the whole idea about hiding behind stuff. But I don't see how that works very well. When you do the first portion, learning how to do things, when you fight robots or whatever, um, like in the very beginning, so they could teach you how to move around stuff. At some point, you have this cover thing that say sometimes you should be behind cover. Yeah, I never saw anything on the map like that that was useful that way. So that was not a tactical aspect that ever worked out in my favor. You can never shoot over anything in the sense that it will help you, except for if you're the bombard that could shoot and lob over stuff. But none of the other ones could. But I had fun. I enjoyed it. It was one of those things where, again, after an hour, when I had to wrap up the video, I was like, oh, I just want to try this again. Yes. And that's a sign of a good game where you can't really feel like you want to stop and then you compromise with yourself. Like, yeah, but do I? Well, I should just maybe another 5 minutes. Yeah, I don't have to put the socks on. I could just go without socks. Feelings like that. Okay. Now, this one is a question mark in my mind, and that is Chernobylite 2. I never played the first one. I get a sense that there's a backstory that I should probably look into in the first one. There was some basic jankiness with it, but it had interesting concept is that you pick a class, ranged, melee, or magic. So some kind of device that can be powered with radiation to shoot elemental damage. Okay, so let's call it magic. Or in between. So you could choose a class that's kind of both worlds. For some reason, I thought I picked a ranged and science, which is the magic, but it ended up being melee magic, which is not what I wanted to do, but whatever. It's still a game, so I still played it. And the awkwardness about the locking system and whatnot, there was just something there where there's just too many components in order to make it good. And I'm sure you have played a lot of games where it is just a smooth transition between using the skills, switching to different combos of items. That was not the case in this game. No. You have a map function. You have to get that up. You have to scan. You have to look. You don't have an arrow on the main screen and maybe a small little like mini map kind of history where you can look. No, you have to bring up your damn map again, and then you have to switch to the right weapon. The first one pops up as melee. Oh shit, I didn't want that, so I want magic instead. Oh, I ran out of magic. Now I have to go scan to look for where there's radiation so I can get more magic. Oh, I take damage when I get radiated. Oh, no, I had to figure out how to heal myself. The whole thing was little puddles of poor UI concepts, but not to the point that you're like, oh, I don't want to play this anymore. It has embers of it. Hopefully, before it comes out, they kind of tighten that up so it just feels like you're going from one system to the other without feeling like you're stumbling across yourself and smacking yourself in the face with your fist. If they fix that, I see a game in there that I would be very interested in playing because it has features like the crafting and components and putting things on, updating your armor and whatnot. All of those features exist, and I think it's just um, uh, it was just something about it where I just want to play a little bit more. And then the next one on my list is Roman Triumph. This is more of my jam. Probably something like a blueberry or strawberry jam. Possibly orange marmalade type on a toast with cheese. Yes. It is a city builder. If you've ever played Man of Dawn or something like that, or Dawn of Man, Man of Dawn. Oh Jesus, Dawn of Man. You get the idea that you kind of start with a city core, you build it out, and then you add housing. You have the colonists doing things. You can convert them to soldiers, and these soldiers can do a lot of cool stuff, such as defending yourself. Apparently, the enemies are either like barbarian raiders or supernatural, like classical monsters like a Hydra and whatnot. I never came to the monster part, but I did end my video that I was making with a raid by barbarians. And my guys kicked ass. It also has a lot of features. You can pretty much set the game to be the way you like it. If the combat's going to be tough or it's going to be lack of resources. And you also have map features. So when you create the map, you can then decide how many different resources, how it's going to look like, how many lakes, waterways, stuff like that. That's great. That's kind of like Foundation great, where you pretty much put together a map that you will be interested in playing before you then have to suffer through it. So, it's definitely a game that I will play again. The art style was a little bit on the simplistic side, but who cares? If a game is fun, it doesn't really matter necessarily what graphics is. The most important is always the UI. Is the UI clumsy? Are you fighting it more than you're fighting the game? That's always been my experience. And finally, on this list, at least up until this point, is As We Descend. As We Descend is a card-based deck-building game set in a medieval kind of world where you are trying to power a post-apocalyptic medieval kind of type world, because there seems to be, yes, medieval fantasy themes, but also power crystals. So, yeah. But anyway, so you're trying to find resources to power up the city that's descending into chaos, and you are going out in the world exploring by going down into the core of the earth and discovering new things. I'm not a big card deck building guy. That was never my thing that I enjoyed playing. There's just way too much randomness to it. But it has a tactical aspect that I liked. So I'm probably going to play this again, at least until I realize that I'm way over my head in this kind of genre. But I enjoyed it. I figured out how to do things, started thinking strategically on how to preserve my resources, because they are limited, and just use the decks as the kind of, with the resources that I have. And I enjoy that. That allowed me to kind of sort of get more strategic about it. And in the end, before I kind of ended that particular video, I felt like, maybe I want to just go out and try it again. Now when I have my Arbalest guys and I have more decks to build from. So yeah, it seems to, at least at that point, tickle my fancy in a kind of genre that I'm normally not very confident in playing or interested in playing. This one will be one of the games that I'm probably going to look into at some point when it comes out. And that is it for now. So these are a bunch of games that I come across that I have played. You can find the video on my channel. And if that's something you're interested in, it's a free download on XFest, man. Why are you waiting for? What are you hesitating? Don't take my word for it. Go out there, jump into the water. It's warm, it's nice. Some of these are cozy, if that's what you want. Some of these are gritty, if that's what you want. RPG, roguelike, deck builders. It has everything. And I can guarantee that one of these games is going to tickle that fancy of yours. And it's going to hit you right in that spot in your brain where you're going to go like, I really don't have to go and pick up my sister. She can walk home. It's just 5 miles, man. I think I'm going to play another round. So, you have a fantastic day. You have a terrific life. And I hope this weekend coming is going to be the best weekend you ever had. And as I always say, until we meet again, adieu.